Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino, and you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Luke Guy. Hey, Luke, how are you?
Cesar, my man, I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for being here. Just to kind of get us going, let me give a brief introduction, and then we can dive into that, to who you are. So Luke, he is a podcaster, PR specialist, and a media buyer. He helps businesses grow by building digital relationships on scale. So that's awesome, man. Definitely want to know more about that and tap into how you got into that. Because I know that a lot of times, maybe for the most people that I've spoken to, their dreams are different than, when they were growing up to what they're actually doing now. And so it's always interesting to understand how they got into what they're doing now. But tell me about you. Like, what is your upbringing? How was that for you, and where are you originally from?
Absolutely. Well, I'm located in Georgia, Cesar, USA, and on the East Coast, near the coast, about an hour from the coast, near Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I have been in the digital world, like digital marketing, since 2013. So I've been doing that for a while. The two things we focus on is running paid traffic. That's where I got my start. That's where I really got my launch. Was with paid traffic, where, for example, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, things like that. Facebook's been a big one. Now we're getting YouTube ads. But also too, we're getting into PR very strong, to where we're going back to the old days, just like it was in the old days. The internet is very mature. We're working
Hmm.
on 2 decades now as the internet, and people are going back to, just because I see an ad on Facebook doesn't mean the person's legit, right? You scroll the feed, and everyone is starting to sound the same. So it's getting to a place that we actually have to go back and have digital relationships. We're going back to the way things were.
Yeah.
So that's something we're doing really strong now. And that's what I do. I help people who want to go online and go strong, but also really strong about PR. I guess my main thing we're good at is running ads and turning. We've still remained a profit. We've invested over six figures in the ad world and been able to turn that into a profit, not just for me, but also
Hmm.
for my clients as well, Caesar.
Wow, that's awesome. So take me back. I want to know more about you. Tell me about your upbringing as a kid. How was that for you? Because a lot of times, one of the things that I realized in talking to people is, to be able to overcome different things, you have to be able to overcome the things that you went through as a kid. And between the ages of 0 and 7, there has been, that's really where your persona is built, right? So take me back to your upbringing and how that came about, and whether or not you even had the dream of becoming, a digital marketer or PR as a kid.
Right. So I grew up in Georgia. This is where I'm from, in Georgia. My dad was an entrepreneur. His dad was an entrepreneur, and his dad was a farmer. So
Wow.
it's kind of through my blood. I see my kids already starting to act like the way I did as a kid. As a kid, I always wanted to write a book. Ever
Mm,
since my grandma still has books. My She has books that I wrote, like little comic books, which I guess everybody writes and draws. But that's something that I really wanted to do as a kid, all the way up through high school. In fact, in high school, I was number one in English. I was going to go for
wow.
an English major. Yeah, I actually made the highest state grade in my school, and because
Yeah.
I love to write. And the thing that I wrote about was my buddy who got killed in a car accident. I wrote about it, something that I really felt. It's something I could feel, and that was my way of kind of getting through the hurt, because he got hit in a
Car
hit
accident.
a tree. Yeah,
Hit and run.
hit a tree head on. And Yeah, so really, so writing has been a thing for me, and anytime I feel something, I write it, and because of that,
Hmm.
I like creating things online, like in our ads, we create like ads that are different from others, which is easy for me. But as from an upbringing, raised in the country, don't prefer the city life. That was my thing. Still is. I still live in the country. I like having
Yeah.
lots of land. My dad owns the lakes, and I love, I just that's kind of my thing. But I also love the internet world where I can write. So I'm definitely a mix. I like my area. I like my safe zone. We're all about that. We're definitely country in that way, but also you have the professional life as well. And that's the cool thing about the internet is I can live in the country. I can have my 40, 50 acres. I can do those things, but yet I can still show up like this and meet people like Caesar
Yeah.
and have relationships across the world, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, and as long as you have the internet connection, you can do it from really anywhere, right? And so
For sure.
you can have both. It's definitely a world where you can have everything you want as long as you keep working through it and working through that, right? So obviously your dad, grandfather, and there's a lot of generations in terms of being an entrepreneur. Did it ever come across your mind where like, nah, maybe I want to take a different route and I want to just do the traditional 9 to 5, go to school, get a good education, a good job, and just kind of stick to that and wave it on to you're done?
Absolutely. In fact, I wanted to be a school teacher. I wanted to be an English school teacher.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I wanted to be because I didn't in school. I just tests when it come to English tests, I just crushed them. Like that was my highest grade. It was my thing. I thought my path was I was gonna be an English teacher. I was gonna do English for a decade, write a book, and blow it up. I thought that's what I was going to do. But I got in college. I did really well in college. Um, but after you start learning about the role and managing kids and the way school systems are going today, I just got this. I don't. I'm not. I love English. That's and it's not so much writing. It's just creating something that can help someone else and change their life. Like what we're doing right here. I love
Hmm.
this. Create value for the people, and I thought I'd had to go get an English degree, but after reading stuff on the internet, people who would never like your biggest book writers today did not go to college for it.
Yeah.
Your top book writers today and business people, they're dropouts. And I figured that, and I was like, why not just go for what I want to do, which was writing and creating things. And that's so yeah, I did think about that. I actually went that route. Um, when I first started, my very first job was at a gas station.
Mm.
Packed up Sprites and Coca-Cola, and then from there, I did UPS for a little bit, and then I did pest control because that's the thing here in Georgia. Bugs are a thing. I know everything.
Yeah.
Everywhere. We got big old bugs on here. So pest control is actually something I did for a little while. And I loved talking with people. I actually got to talk to people who own like 20, 30 KFCs and stuff like that. And I got to learn
Wow.
from a lot of people. But eventually I'd leave that and become full-time where I'm at as a PR specialist and media buyer.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? I mean, how you have one idea and then it kind of takes you to a different route. And at the end of the day, though, you're doing somewhat what you wanted to do, which is again writing PR is writing a lot of copy and doing a lot of that stuff. And definitely there's an expertise in that area. Thinking back now and just kind of looking at your life up to this point, what has been one of your biggest challenges that you had to overcome?
Biggest challenges. Let's see. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of challenges that we face. Probably my biggest one is you're not good enough. It's probably something I've had to deal with when I first started. Like I think in 2013, when Facebook ads started to come out, right?
Hmm.
Facebook ads was a new thing, 2013. It was there, but really people started jumping the bandwagon. But in my mind, I felt like, oh, there's so much competition. I probably shouldn't do this. So I did it for a little bit. It wasn't until I hired someone who said, Luke, this is a great time to launch ads and help me build an ad. And we actually blew it up. So I started my agency was from one ad, and my appointments were just like going crazy. It was insane. But the biggest lie I've ever told myself is there's too much competition. Or it's too much noise out there. You're never gonna be able to make this work. And that's something, and that's still something that you hear in your head sometimes. Like it's too much competition. You're not going to be. But then I have to remind myself, this is something that I love doing. This is something that I love more than anybody. I love creating things, and as long as I'm good, keep it that love, I'm going to crush through it. And we have. And because I've completely told myself that's a lie, there's a lot of competition, but as long as I stay within it and go 100%, do my 100% every day, we crush that. But that's if you're not careful on your down days, you start thinking mental trash, like you'll begin to believe that. And I don't think I'm the only one.
Yeah.
That's something I've had to deal with a lot.
Yeah, and that's definitely actually a good point. There's so many thoughts that go through our head at any given point, right? And there's just this constant battle that you're fighting with. And there's an African proverb that I really like, and he said, "If there's no enemy within, there's no enemy outside that can do you no harm." And it really comes down to that, right? It comes down to that mindset, that the mental aspect of it, and the thoughts and the things you tell yourself. So I guess having that and thinking about that, what has been maybe your biggest lesson, or something that really has stayed with you, based on your learnings?
Yeah. Biggest thing that I've learned, um, when you have something like when you're trying to get an offer to work, like for example, a lot of my clients that come to me, pretty much the things that they want is they want more leads, they want more appointments, they want more deals. That's the three things when you're in high ticket. Doesn't matter if you're like real estate, mortgage, or if you're like in my world, you sell info and digital. The biggest lesson I've learned is to keep it, first of all, simple. Keep things that's one thing I have a problem with too. It's a second challenge is trying want to make everything so complicated. I need to go do that. Like when clients come to me, it's like this. It's like, well, Luke, before I do this, I need to go write a book, and I need to start a show, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I go start this group. And the biggest thing I've had to learn is just scrap all that, scrap all that, keep it back to the basics. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what's stopping you from getting there? That's something I've had to tell myself every day. Where am I at today? Where do I want to be tomorrow or next week or next month? Right. And that's how you have to, and you constantly, and numbers are your friends. I know they're brutal. Numbers are very brutal. When you're me and you're in the media world and you wake up to numbers that just tell you fail. Every day, I fail every day. I fail every day. In my ads, I got ads that get destroyed, but it don't take but one ad to take you to where you want to be. So I could get 9 bad ads and one good one, and I crush it. So a big lesson: keep it simple. Figure out where you're at, where you want to be, and identify what's in the middle. What is the wall between where? Because there's always a wall. And instead of like going crazy and being afraid I can't do it, just push fear to the side for a moment. Look at this thing that's in your way. You know, it's like the story, like in the Bible, you got David and Goliath. What was in between David and his kingdom was Goliath. He identified that. And when the Goliath went boom, the kingdom was his. The kingdom was already his before, but that thing was in his way. And just like every day we have a Goliath facing us, and you have to identify, okay, that's half the battle. Who is it? What is this thing in my way? And how do I bring it down and do whatever it takes? I think that's the biggest. Like, if I had to, so many lessons you learn, my dude. Like that's probably the biggest one. I'd have to say, this is what's helped me, you know, work for myself, hire a team, and push forward. That's why they pay me what they. That's why they pay me what they pay me, to identify what's in the way and how do we get around it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And one thing that I think a lot of people talk about too is that, even building a business, right, and going through all of that is like, even I like the keep it simple and identify where are you now, where do you want to be, what's in between. A lot of times people come to the idea of resources, money, access, whatever the case may be. What's your advice? Obviously you build a business too, and perhaps you face some of those things or you didn't. Nevertheless, that's one thing that people look at when they're looking at in a business idea. I'm like, I hit a wall. There's no more money coming in. I cannot make this investment. I cannot do this or that. How can you overcome some of those things or those challenges?
Most of the things you fear will never happen. I guess the biggest thing people are afraid of is, I guess the biggest fear is I'm going to run out of money, and when my bank account hit zero, I'm going to die and life is over and miserable. That's probably the biggest fear in business is when I hit zero, I'm dead, and it's simply not true, right? Just if you realize where you're at right now, like for example, if you live in America, right? If you live in America, and those listening, right? There's people in other countries like America. We're not the only great country. We got other countries out there,
Mhm.
who are pretty close as well. The fact that you're alive and you're breathing and you're in one of the greatest countries in the world is really all you need. You have everything going for you. So the biggest ways to overcome challenges is, first of all, take emotion out for a moment. Take emotion. And what I do sometimes you're in front of the computer, go walk, go outside and walk, go get some exercise, go put some good things in your body. Half our problems are junk we put in our body, making us think like this. Go put good things in your body. When you're eating junk all the time, sometimes that contributes to our focus being blurred. So right off the bat, get the junk out of your life. Get the negative people out of your life. Get the people who keep saying you can't do this, you can't get them out of your life. Right? So that's one thing. And when it's family, sometimes it's harder because you just can't get them out of your life. But do everything you can, right? But once you've done all those things, you got all the good things in your life, now look at the problem. That problem is your doorway to where you want to be. In fact, if there wasn't problems in life, I wouldn't have a job. Problems are just solutions that haven't been recovered yet. Like we haven't found them yet. So don't be afraid. Look at it. You've made it this far, right? One time in my business, things wasn't going like I wanted. I just hired 10 people to be sales reps for me. And you talking about hiring 10 people at one time. I did that way too fast, right? Way too fast. And we did great with turning over 6 figures. It was amazing. It was great. But there was a time in the business when you hire so many people, a lot of drum breaks out. I was not ready for that. And it just got to a place that was really bringing me down. All these people, I did not hire the right people. The emotion was bringing me down. And I went to my dad. I'm like, Dad, I don't think I'm cut out for business. Maybe I just need to go back to the way things were. And I just quit my job at that time as well. I think I just need to go back. He said, well, Luke, you've been doing this for years before you quit your job. Look at the numbers. Every year you make more than you did the year before. You're not the problem. It's the people around you's the problem. You surround yourself with a lot of negative voices. And so a lot of times if you stand back or sometimes ask for a second opinion, in business we have to do that a lot. Because sometimes sometimes you're in the forest, you've heard this before. Sometimes you can't see the forest due to the trees, right? Sometimes you need a bird's eye view. What's really the truth? And you have to do that. You have to zoom out every day.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it reminds me, and I was thinking about it now. Obviously, the people you surround with are so critical, yet more important, talking about business, the people that you hire have to be the right dynamics, the right kind of people, right? Because they can definitely make you or break you in terms of your business. And as you mentioned, there was so much drama within your team in the business that it was really taking a toll on you and taking into a different direction, right? And so being selective and maybe having a process as to how you onboard people into your business, it's critical when you get it to that level.
Very critical. When I found out that Berkshire and Hathaway, a multi-billion-dollar company, like one of the biggest ones, is ran by 20 people, is what they say.
Wow.
WhatsApp, the WhatsApp, the app, it got bought out for billions of dollars by Facebook. I think they said it's ran by between 20 and 40 people. So I have no business hiring that many people until I'm $1 billion worth, right? So
Right.
so what I learned from that is you need more systems. You need better marketing. You don't need so much weight on people if you do your marketing right and people are sold on you before the call. Like that's the name of one of my methods. Sold before the call. If you get people sold on what you do before you ever get on the phone, you don't have to have so many people. But what I find when someone's sales process is broken, they think I'm just going to go hire a salesperson and he's going to solve all my problems. I'm going to find some magic closer and he's going to take all these junk leads and turn it into millions. Nope. If you can't do it, he can't do it. So what I find is pretty much most people's problem. The PR is weak and the relationships they scale digitally is weak. They think I'm just going to turn on a Facebook ad, leads are going to flow, and it's just going to turn into money. Well, your grandma can turn on a Facebook ad. A 10-year-old can turn on a Facebook ad. That's why the company's worth $500 billion. Anybody can do it. So if you think you can turn on an ad and just get rich, you're wrong. What makes you strong is your PR, your offer, and the how you turn that relationship. That's cold traffic flowing, right? You got to build a relationship with those people and prove them who you are, you say you are. So that's the thing. Like that's a big thing people deal with. So that's why when I learned that, and that's a big lesson that I learned then too. You talk about lessons, man. So many of them. That's another one. right? If you get people sold on you before the call without hiring 10, 20 people, you're doing it right. That's how these companies are doing it. They don't have 100 people. The only companies you can think of is like Amazon and Walmart, but you don't want to be an Amazon and Walmart. That is a nightmare company. You would not want to be there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So obviously, part of the things you do is uh, help people get featured on publications and help with paid media. How can so you work with individuals, business owners? What is the mixture of that, or that people come to you and for help?
So what I do is I like to work with people who think they're experts. Work with people who think they got something they can, because I don't think you should be selling something if you don't think you're an expert at something, right? Even if it's cooking something, you're an expert cook, right? If you're selling something, you don't think you're an expert, you may want to go get that skill down. So that's first thing, right? I work with people who have an offer, they're selling it, and they think you do an amazing job at it, right? They get people who are raving about it. Like I want with those kind of people. So it can be individuals, can be consultants, can be agencies, but mainly anyone who wants to increase their PR game and feel like they have something unique to add to the market. Let's say that, let's say they look at their market and they feel like this is what's missing. I'm what's missing. And here, and not just me, but I represent something that the people want. It's kind of like when my, like, for example, it always happens. For every Kmart, there's a Walmart that crushes them. For every MySpace, there's a Facebook that crushes them, because Facebook identified something that was missing in the market. For those people who think they're that next thing that the market wants, but no one's really saying it, I want to get those people up front. I want to get them on interviews. I want to increase their publications. Those are the people who are going to see not only the PR go well, but also their leads is going to go well. Because it's like when you open your newsfeed on your phone, for example, and you're scrolling, and everyone's saying the same thing. I'm going to help you get rich. I'm going to help you get rich. I'm going to help you get rich. Or if it's let's say real estate world, hey, I can help you get your home. I can help you get your home. I can help you get, and that's why they don't click on your stuff. That's why the leads are bad, because you sound like everyone else. Why should it really comes down to why are you unique? And if you have that unique angle, it makes my life easy. And a lot of times people come to me like, Luke, well, how can I be unique? So we sit down and we talk and we figure out, well, this is your thing. This is what the market's not saying. I mean, this is what competitors aren't saying, but the market wants, and we focus on that.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Uh, in terms of people wanting to work with you, find you, where can they find you?
They go to lukeguy.com. And then I have thelukeguy.com. If you go to lukeguy.com, it's just general information about me. If you go to thelukeguy.com, that's where you can get learn more about how to work with me, and get more info on PR and
Yep.
just all we've talked about here on the show today. You can go to thelukeguy.com, and I show you all the things we've done and what we can do for you mostly. But the Luke Guy, if you really want to talk more, learn more from me, that's a good
Yeah.
place to go.
Okay. Awesome. And one of your messages you said here is, "Don't let your heart be trouble. Treat others well, and it always comes back." Can you elaborate more on that?
Right. I think fear is the biggest thing that's in our way, man.
Mm,
Fear is always in the way. Fear is what I believe was the president said this. The only thing to be afraid of is fear itself.
yeah.
That's the only thing we need to fear. And I know I just mutilated that quote, but you get what I mean. Like it's fear is some imagination we create. It's that monster in that closet. And those words came from a very wise man. Don't let your heart be troubled. And I feel the same way. Like whatever you're facing today, it's going to be okay. Don't hold on to fear. Look at the things that you love. Love always destroys fear, but we got to lean in that direction. Don't cave into what everyone else is saying. You know what you want to do. Go crush it. So that's what I meant when I said
Yeah.
that.
No, and I love that, and I like the idea that you said you're talking about. Go after your dreams. Even if the fear is showing up for you or is there, like, don't let that crush you. And a lot of times we allow the fear to take away the opportunity that's in front of us, right? And uh, what are some maybe tips or ideas that you can share with us in terms of how to not allow that to take away the opportunity from you, not allow fear to take that away from you?
What you fill your head with is very
Mm,
important. Um, so what you put in front of your eyes a lot of times affects your actions. What you take in here in your ears and your eyes, very important. So if you feed yourself fear all the time, right? If that's all you look at, and you're someone that you only listen to, like news is not something. I mean, I read headlines, but you're not going to catch me watching 24/7 news. It's just not going to happen. It's just I read headlines, That's about it. I look more at the NASDAQ and Dow numbers. I look at that a lot, but honestly, it doesn't matter what happens in Washington or wherever, right? Those things do affect me, but it can't stop the actions that I'm taking today, right? I got to focus on the things that I control. So main thing is don't fill your head with fear. Don't fill your head with, because most of the time fear is either thoughts you've created or it was created from somewhere outside. And a lot of times we feed us that trash. And a lot of times we feel down because we eat things that make us feel that way. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, like feed your life with good things and it's going to be easier. So that way, when you get to something that looks fearful, you don't cave into it. But like I say, fear is just things that we create in our mind most of the time. And most of the things that you're afraid of never happen. I say a high percentage of things that you're afraid of never actually happen. You're afraid of bankruptcy. You're afraid of losing your spouse or losing your family or losing your kids or losing your business, right? If you think like that, that's going to happen, right? So don't be thinking about it. Think about how we can prevent that. Let's take some action to not making that happen. So that's the biggest way I say overcome fear. Be careful what you put in here, right? Be careful what you put in here because you are what you think and not just what you eat. Both matter though.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that. Definitely, you are what you think, not what you eat. No, that's cool. And you know, it reminds me of, I think it's Jim Brown. He talked about it, and you kind of mentioned that right now. He talked about you know, the changes now within, you know, the economy or the government or the weather or any of that. You know, well, those events are going to happen regardless, right? Really, the changes within you is for things to change, you have to change. And a lot of times we tend to blame it on the government. We tend to blame it on the on it's raining today, you know, it's cloudy, I don't want to go out and make the sales, I don't want to go out and make the calls, or whatever the case may be, right? And we tend to find this excuse as to why we don't want to take the action, yet at the end of the day is we have to take the action regardless of any of the things happening outside of our world, right? So
And one thing that helps me is this. Like the day before, I come up with a battle plan. You never like when you go to
mm,
play football, you have a game plan before you go in. When you go fight a battle, you already have a plan. So my biggest friend right here is a clipboard. What I do the night before is I write out the things that I need to do. I'd say that's probably one of the biggest contributors helping me push forward. That day when it's time to take action, I don't think about what I got to do. I just do what's on here, and I know I'm complete when I knock out the majority of the things on this list and really focus on what is the number one thing that's going to move the needle for me. So that way you don't think about fear and being afraid. You just don't even think about it. Just do them, right? And when you create a plan before, it really helps with that. But that's one tip I'd offer anyone who wants to get more done and just kind of crush that. Don't even think about it. Just go do it. Just
yeah,
knock them out and focus on the number one thing that's going to move that needle for you today.
yeah,
Get
no,
busy.
I love that. I love that. I have two more questions for you, and one, you've already given us a lot of tips. I'm curious to know: do you have any daily rituals? Tony Robbins refers them as the daily rituals, like habits. Do you have any daily habits that you do besides your clipboard every day to kind of keep you in a positive mindset, or just kind of know, yeah, I'm gonna go out and crush it, whatever that might be, or even just your personal persona?
So, first thing in the morning, what I like to do, and I like to take about an hour or two before I go to work. Usually it's an hour. I'm trying to make it 2 hours. Doing my best on that, but about an hour before I go to work, get crazy. I'm just anxious to dive into ads. What is my number today? What I do to prevent myself from doing that is I like to read before. I like to listen to audiobooks before I go to sleep. That really helps me. Like listen to audiobooks before I go to sleep. Sometimes it can be just a story or
Mm.
whatever. Something that you like, just something that kind of puts me to sleep so I can go to sleep early. But in the morning time, so I take about an hour before I get crazy. And one thing I like to do, I like to drink shakes, something that kind of builds up my protein, and then I'll work out for a little bit. I'll do some reading in the morning times. I'll do my little shake, and then I'll exercise. The music really helps with that. So I take about an hour before. They kind of prepare me, but that's something that I definitely need to get stronger at in probably 2 hours. But man, like waking up early is never like everyone talks about. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I've done like 400 push-ups, right? I'm not there yet, but I do work out before I get up. And that when it if I and the fact is I if I'm successful at the things that I can control, it makes me feel successful even around things that I cannot control. So that's why I do those things because ads may not go the direction I want them today. My click rates and my conversion numbers and my appointment costs may not be what I want them to be today. Maybe they're there, but they're not the prices I want it to be, right? So sometimes if you're not careful, you dwell on the things you can't control. Whereas I should focus more on things that I can control, and that's why I do that. Because at the end of the day, you want to feel successful. But in business, if you need motivation outside of your heart, yourself, don't get in it. There's no one can motivate you to do this. You have to motivate yourself. And if you need motivation outside of what you can create, don't get an entrepreneur. Don't get in business. Don't get an entrepreneurship. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really tough. If you need mama and grandma to pat you on the back or friends to go do it, no, I'm just gonna give up. Don't get in it. It's gonna be you're gonna have a lot of down days, and you're gonna fail every day. You're gonna fail in some fashion every day. Why they say Michael Jordan? He said he made more failure shots than anybody, but he was also Nike's top pick too, right? Because just because he made more failures doesn't mean he didn't make more shots as well. And so that's good shot. So that's the thing. Um, sorry. So that's the thing. Um, in the morning times, I put about an hour. That's what helps me, and also what I do the night before helps as well.
Awesome, awesome. My last question for you is the people that are listening to us and are watching us, if they're going through any challenge right now, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing they can do to start overcoming that challenge?
Well, figure out. Well, half the problem is knowing what the challenge is. A lot of times we think it's one thing and it's really another. So I'd say first of all, identify it correctly. What is
Mm-hmm.
the real problem? That's half of it. People come to me and they think their problem's this, and it's really something else. It really comes down to something. We've been talking about fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the biggest challenges you face, right? A lot of people tell me, well, Luke, I think I've got a lead problem, I got an appointment problem. But when it comes down to it, it's really something much deeper. So let's say you identify what the challenge is. You got it. All right. You've got this thing in front of you. You want to overcome it. Well, write down the one thing that you think will bring this challenge down. And if you get that right and you dedicate your life to it, that's where your number one energy is dedicated to. It will come down, right? Reading helps, like whatever that challenge is. If the challenge is getting more leads every day,
Yeah.
look up things that get into groups, listen to podcasts. So really, whatever that number one challenge is, go look at things. Go like surround yourself with people who first of all have done it. That helps too.
Mm.
Like if you surround yourself with people who've already crushed this challenge, that's probably the easiest thing. But if you can't find someone around to help you with that, go listen and like your podcast season.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to a lot of people who've done things that people want to do. This is a good start right here.
Right.
So that's one thing I'd recommend. And just identify what it is and every day dedicate the majority of your bandwidth and energy to crushing this. Because really, that's how winning's done. It's just
Mm.
figuring out what's my problem and how do I bring it down. And just dedicating your time to that and just go all in.
Yeah. Just jump, take that leap of faith, right? Just go all in. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Look, I really enjoyed our conversation, and thank you again for being here at the show. Definitely had some great golden nuggets. Anything else you want to say before I let you go?
Now, Cesar, you're doing a great job, my dude, and for others listening. I've definitely enjoyed it here as well. So you've been great at this. You do good at what you do, and it's been a pleasure being here with you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure you check out Luke in his two different websites. I'll be putting down the information on the comments. And do me a favor, share this and leave me a 5-star review because definitely people want to hear this. We are found in every single platform where you can find a podcast. I'll see you guys the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.